Bill, you're going to end a long career here in Farmington Hills. In fact, the longest standing city manager in the young city's history. First of all, congratulations on your new position with Bay Harbor in Petoskey. Let's hear a little bit about your background. You grew up on the east side of Detroit, I understand.
Yes,
What did your mom and dad do, and how did you?
Well, I grew up right in the middle of the east side, I guess, near Gratiot and Harper. And my dad owned a meat market and a little grocery store with it, and we lived upstairs. And he operated the business. We lived there till I was 13 years old, and then we moved out to St. Clair Shores. He still owned the business, but we lived in St. Clair Shores near 13 Mile and Harper, and went to Lakeshore High School and graduated in 1960.
And you went on to Michigan State University. At what point during your college career did you become interested in city management or public administration? Was that?
Well, actually, my first 3 years out of high school, I went to Macomb County Community College. In fact, I was going to be an apprentice carpenter. I was an apprentice carpenter, and eventually I got my journeyman's card as a carpenter. But I started to go to night college with some of my friends back in that era, and I took a political science course. The professor was big on city management, and when I heard about it, I thought, gee, it'd be neat to be one of those. When I went to Michigan State, they had a curriculum that was designed back in those years for city managers. And there weren't many, by the time I took it, there weren't many students interested, at least that stayed in the program. U of M's program was a little bigger, but that's how it all started. I guess I also, during Student Government Day when I was a senior in high school, I was elected to the City Council in St. Clair Shores that year. And I guess that probably first got me interested, but then the political science course later. And I always wanted to be a city manager.
Was Flushing your first job as a city manager?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And you learned a lot about, even though a smaller city in Genesee County, you learned a lot about how to run a city and the various departments. Tell us a little bit about that. What was that like?
Well, when I first graduated, I was going way back. My first job was an administrative assistant in the city of Fenton, which was in Genesee County. I worked there for a year and a half, and I'd been a student intern with the city of East Lansing. They had an opening. I went back to East Lansing till 1971 and as an assistant, and then I took my first job as manager in Flushing, and I was there for 8 years. When you work as city manager in a small town, you learn the nuts and bolts operations of the city. And as a young assistant, in my career, I was deputy assessor, I was building inspector, I was deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, I was the urban renewal director in Fenton. And you wear a lot of different hats in small towns. But as city manager in Flushing, I did the personnel work, I did the purchasing work, I planned the public works projects, and something in a city the size of Farmington Hills, of course, I'm not as much hands-on. The city manager doesn't have the time to be. I'm mostly in meetings or dealing with the public or dealing with elected officials or other units of government.
A lot of your training came at the tutelage of Frank Gerstenecker of Troy when you were city manager there. And that was a very similar community, did you find, to Farmington Hills when you came here in 1981?
Oh, absolutely, Bill. In fact, I think my real mentor was the city manager of East Lansing, who was there for a number of years, and I was fortunate enough to have worked for that gentleman. And then I went from East Lansing to Flushing. When I went to Troy as deputy manager in 1978, the couple years I spent there gave me a terrific background and preparation to handle a city like Farmington Hills, because Troy had been going through, and still is going through, tremendous change and growth. Very fast-paced city government operation. And so when I came to Farmington Hills after having worked in Troy, I knew what it was all about. I knew what the kind of pace we had to expect from our employees and elected officials, the demands that would be on us, and that really prepared me to, so whatever success we've had here, I think my experience in Troy was very helpful and giving me some insight as to what to do, how to handle fast-paced change, and the fact that every Monday night we were having city council meetings, that change was imminent. We were dealing with a lot of community growth. And I saw what Troy was going through, learned a lot, and hopefully we've been able to apply some of my experiences here.
How did you come to become deputy or assistant city manager here in Farmington Hills? Was that something an opportunity you were seeing, or were you recruited by Larry Savage? How did that come about?
Now, I heard that there was going to be a position opened here. Farmington Hills certainly was a highly desirable community. I contacted Larry Savage, and as far as I know, I was the only candidate. I'd known Larry for a number of years. I expressed my sincere interest in it. When I was hired on, Larry did tell me that the most he would work is 5 years, and he was going to intend to retire. As it turned out, we worked together for about 2.5 years, and then Larry did retire. And fortunately for me, the city council at the time chose to promote me to manager, so I feel very fortunate about that.
Okay. When after your 2.5 years as assistant city manager, and your background in Flushing and Troy and East Lansing, did you feel confident, comfortable coming in as a new city manager? I mean, was that an overwhelming feeling, or one you really were well prepared for?
Well, I think I was well prepared. One of the things that Larry Savage did for me is when I came here, the organization was much smaller. He gave me a free hand and to really deal with the day-to-day operations of the city. While he was the primary contact with the city council, Larry was very good to me in that regard. And by the time he made his decision to retire, I think that most employees would tell you that I was probably very deeply involved in all elements of the city's operation. And you know, Bill, I want to say that Farmington Hills, the experience I've had here in 15 years, has certainly been the pinnacle of my public service career. And this is a wonderful city, and I feel very blessed to have had this opportunity.
Great. Since you've been in Farmington Hills, it's been a very a growth community for much of that time. It's coming into a phase now where it's going to become a redevelopment or maintenance community. Is that the main challenge for the next city manager, do you think?
Well, I've heard that prediction. I think it's going to be a few more years before we could say that growth has really slowed down. Just take a good example, Livonia. Livonia's still going through a lot of growth. Certainly their infrastructure is a lot older than ours, and they're into a lot more maintenance, heavy-duty maintenance, than we are. We're still a pretty young community as far as public infrastructure is concerned. So I think that we're not going to purely be a maintenance community for a number of years. So I think that the challenge, I know we're going to talk a little later about the challenges, but I do not see that change is going to be imminent and that it's going to be real shocking at this point. I think we have a few years of growth to go yet before we reach a point where we're just simply not growing.
You know, I absolutely adore Bill. Over the years that I've known him, he's been a friend, an advisor, a mentor, and just a whole lot of important things in my life. I think he's done an outstanding job for the city and surely has left an imprint that we won't soon forget. Of course, now that we've taught him everything we know, he's leaving. So I'm not sure what that means. But I do know that we wish him all the very best of luck and all the happiness that can come to him in his new job and his new life elsewhere in Michigan.
He has afforded everyone an opportunity to do as much as they want to do and to go as far as they would like to go with the abilities that they have. Bill has always fostered a good understanding, has kept people involved, and has given everybody the level of responsibility that they would like to have. And I believe that everyone has enjoyed that flexibility. I know in my particular case, having an engineering background and not having been involved in municipal affairs, except for some prior work prior to coming to the city of Farmington Hills, that he has afforded me every opportunity to become involved at every level of our local government, and I've appreciated that. and I know that other people have appreciated the opportunity that Bill has offered them. I'd like to say to Bill that I wish him the best. I know he will do very well in his next venture, and I am glad that he has built such a competent team here at the city that we will carry out his desires and wishes for our community. Thanks, Bill, for a great 15 years.
You have quite a reputation as a city manager as you leave Farmington Hills now, as you're proud to say, one of the largest communities, if not the largest in Oakland County, one of the largest in the state of Michigan. During your tenure as assistant and city manager, there have been a lot of large projects, infrastructure, road programs, and an ice arena. Tell us a little bit about your vision, how it came about, and the city councils that you worked with as far as those programs. How did you foresee those?
Well, that's a tough, the way you've put that, it's a little tough to answer. But I think everybody had a vision for the community that we wanted to maintain the natural features in the community. We wanted to preserve the residentially oriented character of the city. And I think what evolved in the process of all the planning we did and all the discussions we've had is that you have to look at what the zoning ordinances brought in, the master plans brought in, other city ordinances, and then all these separate initiatives, such as the Beautification Commission's initiatives, the Planning Commission's concerns, the Zoning Board of Appeals. When it all melded together, there was a vision that we wanted to have a quality community, preserve the character of our city. What I think is important about the character, you get off the main roads and you're into some beautiful neighborhoods where there's still trees and they're wooded, rolling terrain, where we've preserved the historic heritage of the city. And through our park system, we've been able to really preserve nature in its finest way. So there was a vision, and there still is a vision, of what people perceive they want this city to be like.
Part of that vision, as I understand it, is the year 2000 committee, involvement of several citizens along with the boards and commissions and planning commission and so forth. You said that is one of your proudest accomplishments. Why is that so?
Well, because I think the time was right. I guess I'd have to say that I probably was the author of the concept, and the city council at the time took the concept and ran with it. We actually expanded it, and I'd had a similar experience in Troy, actually, with the Big Beaver project, where we formed a large citizens committee. And we thought originally that our year 2000 plan would have 90 people involved. We ended up with 150 people involved, citizens, and the spin-off benefits have been lasting since 1989 and 90. And they've been terrific, actually. We never thought when we brought all these citizens together we would end up with a group of cheerleaders for the city, for doing good things, for doing innovative things. And I think we did it right. Our year 2000 planning effort's been utilized over and over again in many cities throughout Michigan and other states, as a matter of fact. And we've won some awards for it. So it really did identify and bring people behind a vision for the future of the community. It generated support for so many projects which needed support. And it's amazing, and here we are 6 years after, people are still saying, well, was that project called for in the year 2000 plan? And I could talk about our curbside recycling program that was spelled out, the need to, our public safety millage that was recently passed, which was identified as a need, things like our fountain in front of City Hall. A focal point in the community, something that would beautify the city, even though some skeptics said, well, you shouldn't spend money to build a fountain. You need to do everything. You need to have a variety of things accomplished in the city to make it an entire community. You can't just put all your money in streets. You can't put it all into police. You've got to beautify the community. You've got to have public safety. You've got to have clean areas. So the year 2000 effort certainly brought people together, and it caused them to move in the same direction. That was very important.
Did you think the year 2000 and many of the projects that came with it changed the city from a suburb, or the perception that it was a suburb, to a self-enclosed city, a city with businesses, shopping, restaurants, nice residential areas, that type of thing?
Well, I don't think the year 2000 plan did that because we already were a full-service community. We had large industrial parks. We have some commercial areas, although we do not have major malls. So I think we already were a full-service community. But what it did do is it placed value on all those diverse functions within our community. It gave us a set of values. And the values essentially said, okay, we've got residential areas, let's make them better. We've got commercial or industrial areas. What can we do to make them better, more viable? And so those values will have a lasting impact on the city.
What accomplishments would you, besides the year 2000 committee, what accomplishments would you point to that you'll take away with you as fond memories and maybe structures or things that when you come and visit Farmington Hills, you'll kind of point to proudly?
Well, I think what we've accomplished in the past, it's interesting. When I came here, there were 95 miles of gravel roads in the city. And people were crying out to the city council that they needed a realistic road program so that local streets, subdivisions could be paved. And along with the paving, you improve the drainage and you get rid of the mud and the dust, and you watch the home values increase and housing maintenance increase. We've been able, with our aggressive road program, we have paved over 70 miles of roads. Today we have a little over 20 miles of gravel roads left. Now our total road network is 295 miles. So that's a major accomplishment. And we've gotten so many millions of dollars of federal and state grants that my staff has really produced in that area. We've had a very aggressive road program that I'm proud of. Another one is the 12-mile project, of course. The boulevard concept really makes a statement about values in this city. It's interesting, Bill, when I came here, there were, I think, 4 studies done throughout the 1970s about 12-mile road. Each of them were done by consultants. Each had the same conclusion. None of them contained a boulevard. And when I first came here, one of the first challenges as assistant manager, people said, we needed to look at these 12-mile studies and come up with a realistic plan, and we did. And I'm happy to say that the year that I'm leaving, we're going to see the last mile of 12-mile boulevard finished. It's an outstanding accomplishment, and we're very proud of it. We've spent millions of dollars on storm drains to solve flooding problems. Probably the Kendallwood project was the most expensive public works project ever taken on in the city. We've literally remodeled all of our fire stations, built 2 new ones since I've been here, and now starting our 5th. We've built a new police station. We've remodeled the library. We're in the process of expanding our public works garage. We've purchased the activity center, the ice arena. So we've had a number of initiatives and projects. And so when I leave, I think I'll be thinking to myself that the city facilities are in pretty good shape.
What, on the downside, what in your experience has been the toughest either project or time period of which you've gone through? And I'm thinking in terms of some more controversial developments in the city.
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of things stand out. Certainly if you're city manager, you can't please everyone all the time. And the city manager is expected to deal with crises. 2 that stand out to me that were bad times for the city, at least really affected me. One was when we had all the flooding occur, and we needed to make a major commitment that we were going to solve some of the drainage problems in the city. Now, we've had a drainage program, but if you recall in the floods of, I think it was 1989, that we made a major commitment at that time. We took on 2 huge drain projects. Well, actually, there were 3 over my career. First, the Cadell Drain in 1982, but the Pebble Creek and the Minnow Pond Drain projects, and those are finished now. Hopefully, we will not see a reoccurrence of the major flooding. And then, of course, the controversy that took a lot of people back was, the unfortunate situation at Timbercrest and the recall that resulted from it. It's okay in my mind that there's disagreement. The city council we've operated always openly. We've always tried to accommodate people. The recall, in my view, was unfortunate, and to me, that was a very low time. But we've quickly bounced back. And as I reflect on Farmington Hills, I reflect mostly on all we've been able to achieve and accomplish. Today we have a wonderful park system. We had 5 acres of parks when I came here. Today we have over 450 acres. And as you know, they're beautiful parks and they're well used. So we've done a lot, and it's been an exciting run for 15 years here.
Billy, when you took over the administrative leadership of our city 13 years ago, we were on the threshold of tremendous growth and on the way to becoming a great city. Billy, you took a half-molded piece of clay and shaped it into what is now known as one of the best-run cities in the state. Your patience, dedication to excellence, and your extraordinary ability to bring together our administrative staff has given us the machine to follow the roadmap you have drawn for our future. Your quiet leadership, municipal expertise, and energy was something that has been admired and appreciated by not only the residents of the Hills, but from your peers across the state. I will not forget what you have meant to me and my family. We in Farmington Hills, and especially Shirley and I, were indeed fortunate that you gave us a part of your life. May the good Lord bless you, Pat, and your family in your new challenge. There is no question in my mind that you will set standards in your new career that will be the benchmark for those in this profession to be judged. We will meet again soon. Shirley and I love you. Shalom. Peace.
Some 15 years ago was the first time I met Bill Costick. It was over lunch at Mountain Jack's. I was mayor at the time and on the city council, and I remember interviewing him because he was about to come with our city. And I asked Bill, what does he like about government? And I remember his answer. He said, I like people, and I like helping solve their problems. And I think that's carried Bill a long ways. In fact, that has become known as the Costick method of problem solving. I was at a meeting in Washington, D.C. in the National Association of Counties Personnel Subcommittee, and we were sitting around discussing some kind of training programs we were putting together, and somebody said, the Costick method of problem solving. And I thought, well, that's my Bill Costick. It's got to be. And sure enough, it was. So you were being talked about in Washington, D.C., and they kind of narrowed it down to how Bill would approach problems, and that was to bring people together to resolve their differences before they become arguments. Now, they talked about it in Washington. I'm just sorry that they don't use it. Maybe they could use it now. Bill had a TV show, really wasn't Bill's TV show, but he appeared, it seemed, weekly or a couple times a week with the mayor or with the senior citizens or on the Ben Mark show, but Bill was always there. I don't mean this to be insulting, but a lot of people got me confused with Bill. Some people thought we looked alike. That's an insult to Bill, but a compliment to me. And they would come up to me afterwards and they would say, gee, you did a great job on TV. And I said, that wasn't me. That was Bill Costick. He was the city manager. I'm the county commissioner. And that went on for some time. Then I got smart. These were all rave reviews. And so I didn't deny it anymore. I just thanked them for what they said and said, I'm really trying to do a good job. In fact, one summer during election year, every time Bill was on TV, I got 25 more votes. But I want to wish you all the best, Bill, in the private sector. I know you'll be as successful as that is in the public sector, as long as you keep liking people and wanting to solve their problems, and you will, I'm sure. I wish you the best, and I'm proud to call you my friend, my friend.
Bill, you and I go back a long way in this city. I believe it was 1985 when cable first was arriving in Farmington Hills, and matter of fact, we just hired Dave Tietmeyer. And it was decided to try to get some local programming started, and I was mayor at the time and suggested, Bill, you and I do a program for cable. And you kind of looked at me and said, well, not me. And matter of fact, I think what you kind of made a determination you weren't going to do it. I said, no, Bill, it wasn't not are you going to do it, when are we going to do it? And we got started. A little slow at first, but we got started. And I remember the first time we met, had a whole outline. In fact, kind of said, Bill will ask about this, and Jan will ask about this, and back and forth. Then we had a break, and then we came back for the second half. And within about 2 or 3 week sessions like that, we did programming, and we got to the point where we both show up at the right time, and we look at each other and say, okay, what are we going to talk about today? Nothing in writing. And I got to be so easy, because for one thing, you became very at ease on the camera. And there were great times back there, and you've done a super job. We're really going to miss you. Matter of fact, I think I would suggest in your next career change after the one you're making now, You might want to consider replacing Larry King, because I think he's about ready for a replacement. I think you're just about ready for that. Anyway, go with Godspeed. I'm going to miss you very much. I'll have to, when I get to the northern part of Michigan, I'll have to watch the local cable shows, because I'm sure you're going to be there. Take care.
Tell me, how did this opportunity come about for you?
Well, I had a couple people, in fact, 2 days apart, call me, who do business with one of my new bosses, and described the position that was being sought by the owners, and asked if I'd be interested. And I said, yes, I would be. You know, I've had 30 years in local government in Michigan, and it's really been my only career since college, city government, city management, and 15 years here. And frankly, it was and is time for me, if the opportunity were to come about, to make a career change. When I heard about the Bay Harbor opportunity, I expressed interest, and beginning in early December, discussions started, and one thing led to another, and I'm fortunate enough to, at my age, to be able to make a career change at this point.
You're going to be, it would be described sort of as a small city, as I understand it, a development which includes a restaurant, inn, yacht, marina, golf course, all these types of things that you've been involved in for the most part during your career. Was that part of the attraction and the location?
Well, definitely. Everything you've said is true. The project is going to be a luxury resort community. Bay Harbor is located 1 mile west of Petoskey on Lake Michigan, and the project has 5.5 continuous miles of shoreline. So it has more shoreline than any resort in the Great Lakes will have. It's an exciting project. It's been successful so far. The last couple of years, the focus has been on removal of what was a cement plant and opening up an old quarry to make an actual inland lake or protected harbor out of it. And now under construction is a yacht club and the marina and the 27-hole championship golf course. They're actually on the development 25 separate little site condominium units that each have their own characteristics, whether they're in a wooded area or on a cliff or a bluff or on the shoreline or on the peninsula. And the project will include a small shopping village, which the owners hope to pattern after what some parts of the Vale downtown area. And then there will be attached condominium units, so it's going to be exciting. And in a sense, you'll be like a private community city manager, let's say. But my position of general manager will include the overall operations and getting prepared to move from the real raw type construction to operations of the Bay Harbor community.
You've said that when you take on this job in the near future, you're going to be putting in a lot of days of work, 6 days a week or so for the rest of the year, and yet you seemed vitalized by this. As city manager, you also put forth a lot of energy and seem to have a lot of energy for the many projects you were involved in. Where does that come from? How do you do it?
Oh, well, I guess if you're city manager in a city like Farmington Hills, there isn't enough time in the day to accomplish what you really want to accomplish. And you're expected to be at so many meetings, and if you're not in meetings, you're on the telephone, that in order to do work, Bill, as you know, you've got to work Saturdays and Sundays, and that's not uncommon. I mean, I know that that's true of most city managers or football coaches, I guess, during football season, or school superintendents. So public service today is very demanding. Bay Harbor situation is that this is going to be a big year, and so is 1997. Project's really going to get off the ground. It already is. The activity up at Bay Harbor is running furious right now, so I expect that the level of my customary work practices will just continue. I'm revitalized because it's new. It'll offer new challenges to me, and it'll certainly be different. Plus, the real plus for this whole thing is that I've always loved the Petoskey area, and so many residents and people that I've worked with have already come by to wish me well, but have also indicated that they vacation in Petoskey. I mean, what a wonderful place to live if you can make a living in the north. And so this is a great opportunity, and that's a real side benefit.
You'll be stepping out of the public sector, so to speak, into the private sector. What, and you've said that there are a lot of satisfactions being a city manager and so forth. What have been the downsides to that? Public service, I mean, is that becoming a much more difficult situation in the last 10 years, would you say?
Well, I think things have changed. I wouldn't say there's any downside. You just have to have a frame of mind and be willing to work in the public sector today. I think, local government, city government's at the grassroots level. And there's no question that taxpayers, including myself, are frustrated with government in the United States today. Local government's the one level that people can actively get involved. It used to be when I first got into business, there was the saying that you can't fight City Hall. Well, people understand that you can fight City Hall today, and rightfully so. But it's the mind frame that you have, and we've gotten used to being on television with our meetings. We certainly try to operate openly. We try to operate like a business, and I think we've come a long way in government. I'm glad to say that I've been part of this transition. My career has spanned the years where we've gone from the old way of doing things to where we are today. And I think the satisfaction of being able to begin with the planning of a project and see it come to fruition is certainly one of the big payoffs for someone like me in service in local government.
When you leave city management, what will be the highlight, would you say, for you? I mean, will there be one thing, or is it just a culmination of friendships?
Well, I think that my career here in Farmington Hills is certainly where I've been able to achieve the most. In 1991, I was president of the Michigan City Managers Association. Been very active with our national organization, and my work here has afforded me that opportunity. I've made a lot of good friends within the business, and I know most of the city managers in the state and in many states. Certainly I've developed great friendships with elected officials. I have a wonderful staff here, a wonderful group of employees, and so many great citizens in Farmington Hills. My work with the Chamber of Commerce and the Council of Homeowners and many of the individual subdivision groups and the civic clubs, the Ministerial Alliance, have all been great experiences for me. So I'm leaving with so many friends, and of course my announcement that I'm resigning, everybody's come out of the woodwork and have been very nice, wish me well, and it makes me realize how many friends I have here in this city, and I feel very fortunate about that.
Well, let me be one of the many to congratulate you on a great career and wish you the best, and thank you for all you've done for Farmington Hills.
Thank you, Bill.